Does this sound familiar? You come home from work exhausted. You rummage through the fridge for something edible, something healthy-ish to eat, and you realize you don't really have enough components to make a full meal. So you end up running to the grocery store and you end up spending over $100 on that one grocery trip because impulse shopping on an empty stomach is a thing. Hi, my name is Adrina. I am the owner and accountant here at Accounting by Adrina. And in today's video, I'm calling it the case for meal planning because heaven knows it has saved me so much money over the years. And let me tell you, back when I was working at a corporate type job, I actually lived super close to a Whole Foods. I lived and worked super close to a Whole Foods. And so that Whole Foods, and the Trader Joe's, by the way, but the Whole Foods was more walkable for me. And so if there was a day where I didn't really have a plan of what I was gonna eat, all I had to do was just walk on over to Whole Foods, grab a few things, and come home. And then $100 later, I'm like, what did I just do? Back then, my grocery budget was double the amount that my grocery budget is now. And so I'm gonna tell you all of my tips and tricks that I've done over the years in order to get to where I am right now. And let me tell you, it is gonna be a journey because it's sort of like a little bit of a self-exploration of like what you like to eat and when do you like to eat it and what types of grocery stores do you like to go to. So it does require some upfront work, but I think in the long run, it is going to save you so much money. Now, if you have been watching me for a while, you know that I love to create lists. I love to create spreadsheets, and I'm sort of a spreadsheet nerd, so to speak. So I definitely started creating a process back then when I started realizing that I was going overboard. And so maybe I had that like aha moment and I said like, there's no way that I can keep this up. There's no way that this is sustainable, especially if I wanted to move from my location where I was living into a larger place because rent would be higher and therefore the money that I was using for grocery shopping would have to go towards rent. I mean, those are really the two highest pieces of spending each month. And so those are the areas that we really want to hone in and that we really want to take control over. Now, this I've said already has been a process. I mean, this did not happen overnight, and this has been probably 5+ years, and growing. So I have to constantly remind myself that this goal of mine is progress and not perfection. Every week, I am not going to do exactly the same things all the time, but I might have the same meals every week for breakfast. I mean, I am definitely the type of person that can have the same breakfast every day and not get tired of it, with like minor variations, of course. But the point is, I am taking the steps that I need to take today for incremental future growth. And that's what this new series is all about. So during the next 4 videos or so, I'm gonna be taking you behind the scenes with me on how I do my meal prep, my meal plan, grocery shopping, and all the in-between. I'm gonna tell you all of my tips and tricks and what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And I'm basically taking you behind the curtain, so to speak. And this is one of those things where I am feeling really passionate about because I feel like this is a routine that I can rely on. This is a routine that I can take control over, especially when it feels like there's a lot of other pieces in your budget that you do not have control over. This can be one thing where you can really hone in and just take control and reduce your spending. One of the reasons why I feel like meal planning is so important is because of those days where you feel like you are completely exhausted from work and you don't want to think about dinner, but it's necessary. People gotta eat, right? And your family's probably like, hey, when are we gonna have dinner? If you're just not planning it or you haven't figured it out for that day. So it's gonna reduce your decision fatigue. And I feel like, especially right now, given the certain circumstances that we're under, there could be a lot of things where we feel like we have to make decisions on. And I know me personally, when I am done with my workday, I just want to be done with my workday. I don't want to have to think about dinner. I don't want to have to kind of like figure it out in a conversation, and I just don't it's just a lot of pieces that I don't want to deal with. So why not get it figured out all in one day of the week instead of every day you have this decision that you need to make, which actually takes on this certain mental load that we don't want to deal with. And there's just all these other things. I could go on and on and on about this piece, but my first piece of argument for you is meal planning reduces your decision fatigue. Now, my second argument is that it actually reduces your food waste. When you are constantly thinking about what you're going to have for dinner, that means you probably had some leftovers from the previous night and you don't necessarily want to eat that because it might not be enough for a full meal. It might just be kind of like pieces of meals. And so you might end up not going back to that meal and you might end up trashing those pieces of meals. And I just want to tell you that food waste in our country is kind of one of those things that I'm also growing passionately, more and more passionately about. Now, I am a newbie regarding my impact on the planet, and there are definitely things that I am doing today in order to combat kind of any type of waste that I create on this planet. I mean, one of those things is I religiously wash out all of my Ziploc bags. So anytime, I put something in a Ziploc bag, I usually go back to the reusable ones. If I don't have enough reusable ones, then I use the regular Ziploc bags. And just every day I just wash those out and reuse them. And so that's just one easy way that you can reduce your food waste on this planet. Now, when you are intentional about creating a meal plan for the week, one of the things that I want to encourage you to do is to look at the food that you already had from the previous week. Is there something that you made and that you could put into a container to save in the freezer so that you're not trashing it and you can enjoy it at a later date? I do this practically every week. So every Thursday, I go into the fridge and I take a look at the meal preps that I have and kind of the food that I hadn't gotten to. If I don't have a plan for it over the next couple of days, then I certainly put it into a freezer-friendly container and I make sure that that goes into the freezer and that I note it on my paper, in my mind. And I'll show you a little bit more about that process in future videos, but this way that I can ensure that I am actually eating all the food that I make and nothing is going to waste. Now, when we are creating a meal plan, we are actually reducing our spending as well, because not only are we reducing our food waste, but that food waste actually does cost money, and that money is sort of going down the drain if you end up trashing a meal or the scraps of a meal at the end of the day. So this is actually going to save you money in the long run, and this is definitely what I found to be true for me when I was going to Whole Foods like 2 to 3 times a week. Cutting down those trips to the grocery store to once a week has been so helpful. So my strategy is to kind of like switch out the grocery store that I go to every week, because there are certain things that I purchase at, let's say, Costco that I wouldn't purchase at Trader Joe's, or at Sprouts that I wouldn't purchase at Aldi. So I do like to rotate which grocery store I'm going to, especially if I look at the ads and I see that there's going to be a sale for some particular items that may be at Ralph's. So I might end up just going to Ralph's that week because of the sale items. Anyway, I'm going to talk through all of this with you in future videos, so stay tuned. I do have 3 other videos coming out, and in these 3 other videos, not only am I going to show you exactly how I create my grocery shopping list, I'm going to show you how I look at the ads, what apps that I use. I'm also going to show you one spreadsheet that I use that will be available on my website. I show you the groceries that I purchase, and I also will have a video on meal prepping with me. So just a disclaimer, I am not a food blogger, and so this is going to be my first time doing this on YouTube. But if you have been following me on Instagram for a while, then you already know that I stick to my Sunday meal prep and meal plan almost religiously. And so if I'm not kind of like prepping for several recipes at a time, maybe I'm going to show you one recipe and that's going to be like whatever dinner that we're having that night. But I would love it if you would follow me over on Instagram so you can see in real time me meal prepping, and then you can meal prep with me. And if you are in the shoes of someone who just does not have the bandwidth for any of this type of stuff, there are definitely some services out there that can help you with this meal prep portion of it. I definitely follow a few blogs, and I'll go ahead and link those blogs below. One of them is Workweek Lunch. I actually subscribed to her subscription last year and was able to make lots and lots of really fun recipes. She does some recipe creations every week, and so in that subscription you can figure out kind of like what your meal plan is and then your grocery list. This is not sponsored, it's just a really great service, and I feel very passionately about it. There's also a couple other websites that I like to go to, Half Baked Harvest, Eating Bird Food, and so those are just a couple off the top of my head right now, but if I think of any others, I'll go ahead and link them below as well. And I would love it if you would comment on this video and tell me what you like about meal prep and meal planning. And I can't wait for this series to be out. You're gonna watch this in January, and I'm so excited about this. Come along with me for all of these videos, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you are the first to know of new videos.